Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to have a look at the Jagdpanzer 30AT, or also known as the Hetzer. This vehicle was produced and used by Germany during the later stages of the Second World War. Today we're going to take a look at the vehicle itself and why it was made. Because when I first think about the vehicle, my first question is, why? But before we get into the subject, you can do several things to support my channel. 3 of these things are leave a like, subscribe and leave a nice comment with either feedback or just something nice, it doesn't matter. Another thing is that you can become member for €3 a month. You can do so by heading over to my channel and there the benefits and stuff like that will be explained. For this video I will call the Jagdpanzer 30AT the Hetzer instead, because it's a lot easier to say the Hetzer instead of the Jagdpanzer 30AT. When Germany fully annexed Czechoslovakia in 1939, they took over everything they actually had, so including the companies like Skoda and CKD, who were working for tanks for the Czechoslovakian army. These vehicles were called the LT-VZ-38 and were also known as the Panzer 38T, in which the T stands for Czechisch, which is the German word for Czech. This vehicle served widely in the Second World War, notably in Poland and in France, but it also served in the Soviet Union. But coming to 1943, this tank was very much obsolete. During 1943, Alcott was producing the very famous Stuk 3. However, the Allies bombed Alcott mercilessly, so they started looking at other companies who might be able to produce the Stuk 3. And one of these prime candidates was BMM, formerly known as CKD. Keep in mind, this was one of the companies who were taking over in 1939 during the full-on annexation of Czechoslovakia. This company during the war was only making the LT-VZ-38, or also known as the Panzer 38T. So all the equipment they used was to make these 10-ton vehicles. So the cranes could only handle about 13 tons. And as you can imagine, this is way too little for the 24-ton Stuk 3s. So the orders BMM received was to make a Sturmgeschütz. And this Sturmgeschütz was to use Panzer 38T components and was to be inspired by the Marsal, the Romanian Marsal. Drawings appeared on the 17th of December 1943, and on April 1944 this vehicle entered production. And 2 other companies a couple of months later also joined the production. In total, in 13 months, 2,500 of these vehicles were produced. This was due to the high amount of requests from the front line for the Hetzer, because the Hetzer was actually effective. The Panzerjägerabteilungen 731 and 743 were the first combat units to receive the Hetzer, and infantry units also received the Hetzer in so-called anti-tank battalions. They were quite popular because they were small and thus could be concealed rather easily. It was also equipped with the deadly 75mm L48, and this main armament could take out most allied vehicles on a distance of about 1000 meters. And it was also equipped with a machine gun, which either could be the MG34 or the MG42, which the loader had to end fire and reload if needed. But just like most armored fighting vehicles, it had its fair share of issues. It was cramped and had a limited fire range, and it also presented problems in the addition that the loader was set at the wrong side of the main armament. However, its strength is that it was very well armored. The front was effectively 120mm thick and the lower plate was 78mm thick effectively. However, its sides were very weak in comparison to the front, and this is in order to save weight. Basically, these sides were only good enough to protect you from either shrapnel, from grenades and stuff like that, or from small arms fire. In the end, this vehicle only weighed 15.75 tons, and in order to propel this vehicle forward, it needed a decent engine. And the engine it got was the Czech EPA, which had 150 brake horsepower. After the war, the Hetzer was in service of the Swiss until 1973, after having bought them from Czechoslovakia in 1947. A total of 158 Hetzers were given to the Swiss, and the Hetzers were equipped with a Praga AC2 engine, which had 265 horsepower, and this allowed the Hetzer to have a top speed of 42 km an hour. Like I said, this vehicle was loved because it was small enough to be hidden. It was 6.2 meters long, 2.2 meters tall and 2.6 meters wide, and it had a crew of 4 in there. Like I said before, this vehicle was equipped with the 75mm L48. And this is one of the most common main armaments of Germany used in the Second World War. This was also equipped on tanks like the Panzer IV, and the Stuk 3 and 4 were also equipped with this main armament. However, there's one key difference between these main armaments, and that is that generally the Hetzer crews decided to take off the muzzle brake, and the muzzle brake is the thing that you see at the end of the main armament, and this is to dampen the recoil. But just like the issues the Jagdpanzer 470 faced, that is that there was too much smoke coming out of the end of the barrel, and considering most of the time the Hetzers were either in very well concealed positions or on flanking positions, stuff like that. When there is such a great amount of smoke coming from the main armament, it gives most of the time your ambush position away, so they decided to take it off. At least the crews decided to take it off, and later in production they decided to also not produce the muzzle brake anymore for this main armament on the Hetzer. One of the best features the Hetzer had was that it was quite reliable, especially compared to like the big cats or even the normal Panzer IV. So yeah, that was really what the Germans needed at the time. Just a reliable vehicle which was able to destroy oncoming hordes of, for example, Soviet or American tanks. Just like with most very successful vehicles, the Hetzer also had different versions, and one of these versions was the Flammpanzer, and this Flammpanzer of course had a flamethrower on it, and you also had the Bergerpanzer 38T. All in all, it was a very good vehicle at the time. It had its fair share of issues, of course, which most tanks or armored fighting vehicles actually have, but considering it was a very much requested vehicle at the front, and it sold to another country and stayed in service until 1973, which is a feat one not a lot of German vehicles can speak of, I do consider this a successful vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and sub. Other than that, thank you very much for VW, German, Luker and Sander for being supporters of this channel. Other than that, have a very good day and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.